Hello everyone, this is Ashmita from Sources Classes, and in today's class, as you can see over here, we are solving the ISS General English paper, and as presented to you on the screen, it's from the 2022 paper, and essay topic is being showed. Okay. Now, this essay topic came in the General English paper. This was the first one among the essay topics. That is right to privacy, and which is intrinsic, like which is important to life and liberty. So here I have included certain points that you can or you could have included, and if you are given some topics which are kind of similar to this kind of a topic, then you can add such kind of points. Like, for example, privacy has been defined by the US judiciary as the right to be let alone. Like, of course, privacy is something which needs to be kept like within you. It should be within you and it shouldn't be publicly displayed. Okay, this concept is now being deemed by experts as insufficient in a large interconnected world. Because of this interconnection, like there is too much of social media, there's so much of exposure nowadays that privacy has just remained a term nowadays. It's not applicable to real life. I've given the example of the case of Ram Malani and that is versus the Union of India case. That case I have given. The Supreme Court of India opined in Ram Malani versus Union of India case that it is important that human beings should be allowed domains of freedom that are free of public scrutiny unless they act in an unlawful manner. If you are just not violating any laws, then it's very much necessary that you have your private space. You should be getting your domains of freedom, and there should be no public scrutiny, like no public observation should be there. And another point that I have included is privacy ensures that freedom of speech and expression survives. Um, Now, privacy facilitates that you can have your freedom of speech as well as your freedom of expression with no interference in between. This is because once we are put under surveillance, we will start to censor ourselves for fear of state action. Of course, when we are conscious about someone watching us, we are very much aware of the fact what we are speaking. So we will always keep in mind that okay, someone is watching us, someone is just supervising us, and hence we cannot speak up clearly. That's why you can include this point also. Next, I have included certain points like the democratic ideals of pluralism and the diversity would start in the mind, and only an unfettered mind which is free from fear can appreciate and re-level in these ideals. So, last point I just told you that I included about the public scrutiny. If we see that someone is like observing us, we will filter our words and we would be not speaking from our heart, and rather we would speak like just like a machine should do. We won't be expressing our opinions or expressions. So that is what this point is trying to say. Next, you could have included recently the use of private data for election campaigning brought out the controversy regarding the large scale storage of public data. Yeah, these kind of information that is being stored nowadays online of any public, that is quite wrong, and it should be stopped. That hampers our privacy. Okay. Facebook, Equifax, etc. were also under fire for violating the user privacy. Yes, this point is very important because you see Mark Zuckerberg, he was like questioned for this thing, and after which the name of Facebook only changed into Meta. So these things he could have included regarding the privacy stuff. And in meanwhile, the WhatsApp version also came into question because of like sharing stuff which other people outside the chat could have seen. So that thing you could have like included in your essay. And using unethical means to track the user's lifestyle and movements. Yes, so they have been using our data, and we have been like unconsciously, like when we are just going through our phone, we just click on accept, like everything we accepted, and then later we realize that no, we shouldn't have accepted it because it violates our privacy. Like the apps which take the acceptance from us, it basically tracks our lifestyle and movement. So this point you could have included. I've talked about the repressive regimes like Saudi Arabia and China also extensively used mining data mining technology to monitor and surveil citizens. They have used coercive methods to suppress the dissent and censor free speech. India also had plans to initiate a mass surveillance program but had to put it on hold after receiving widespread criticism. So, first, you can talk about the different examples, how privacy is being hampered. First, you're introducing the topic, then you are talking about the different, like, recent examples of how privacy is important and how some things are violating it. Then you can talk about the world privacy, like what's going on in the foreign countries. Then you can talk about what's happening in India, because after all UPSC is an Indian examination, so you should be focusing and highlighting the points that is going on in India in a broader context. Next, I have focused on the concerns regarding privacy in India. Like you can see this point, having no privacy is like having a perpetual warrant in your name. So yeah, kind of right, like that only. Like no privacy means there's perpetual, like repeated warrant in our name. If you feel you are under constant surveillance, you will never enjoy freedom and liberty. Just like the way I was talking about in the previous slide, that when we are under supervision, we tend to talk less, or I would say that we tend to express less. We do not talk about opinions, rather, we talk about something which others want to hear. That is what makes the difference over here. So, when we are free, when we are outside any kind of observation, we tend to talk freely. That is what liberty is and that is what freedom is, which are our fundamental rights. Next, I've included this unregulated access to data can lead to suppression of dissent and censorship. Journalists, human rights activists, etc., can be put under an invisible prison of surveillance. Okay, so uh, yeah, I've included this point. Then I have included people who are leading a lifestyle which is deemed a taboo by a certain section of the society might be vilified or targeted. For example, homosexuals. Like when there is, of course, you know that's really a hot topic nowadays, and we all need privacy somewhere. And this homosexuals category, they are now and then intervened and disturbed, and not only them, other groups are also disturbed, like they are always under scrutiny, they are always under camera, like that feeling we have. So there's no privacy anymore to any categories. Surveillance by police also causes a concentration of power and puts the civil liberties at serious risk. So, surveillance means the police, when the police is constantly looking at you, or um, like you are under the constant supervision of the police. This also shows that in India, the concentration of power is obviously in the hands of the police and not in the normal citizens. But it should be in the hands of all the citizens, because after all, it's actually we who choose the government, and not only the police officers. It's we who make up the country. It's not only the police who make up the country. So there shouldn't be any kind of concentration of power among any category. Next, I've included this one, that law enforcement officials across the world are also accused of unauthorized data collection. Yes, of course, data mining to predict travel plans, etc., to put the citizens' reputation at risk. So yes, different websites, different law enforcement officials, different yeah, different sites, different surveys, online surveys, they tend to ask very private information from us so that they can just understand what we as a user want or what we as a user are interested in, so that they can just show us only that in our feed, and then we can just click it and open it, and they will get the views, or they will like, yeah, mostly it's for views and money, and also our reputation is at risk at a time when we are even scrolling the phone, scrolling the feed in Facebook, wherever we check the things. It belongs to all the apps that they will definitely ask you for your name, for your interests, whether you're a student or not, and many things they ask you. All right. Next, this point is included that private details like travel details, shopping history, financial details, etc., are used to create online granular profiles, which are then sometimes used to spread specifically crafted fake news. This has increased the potential of fake news in the country. So this is how, like, financial details, shopping details, everything gets stored. We don't understand most of the times. Nowadays online stuff is being done very much, like round the clock it's going online, everything is becoming online. So we tend to put all the private details online without even thinking of it, without even giving it a second thought. So all our financial details, all our shopping details, home details, address, everything are at stake. Okay, I've included this one also, that is GDPR, that's the General Data Protection Regulation Rules, which are framed by the European Union, has become a model for the world when it comes to privacy. Right to be forgotten is also in effect in the EU. All right. So till the previous slide, we have discussed about the various problems that are going on. First, I discussed it globally, given some examples. Then I discussed it in what's happening in India. Then I'm providing you with certain solutions. All right. Now, SC in the Supreme Court in the this is Supreme Court. All right. Supreme Court in the previous judgments has also asserted the need for a right to reputation, and the society must be mature enough to understand in order to preserve the reputations, privacy is crucial. Okay, so Supreme Court has also like passed its judgment regarding the need to protect a person's reputation, not to tell every little detail, every minute detail, everywhere in the social media and anywhere in shopping sites or whatever. There should be a limit to sharing your information. Next, I have talked about the background on the draft Personal Data Protection Bill of 2018, which was recommended by Justice B. N. Sri Krishna Committee. Now, here, what I'm focusing on is it's basically a solution, of course, and what all are being updated regarding this right to privacy. Okay, what are the new rules and regulations? So that is what I have focused over here. um, the draft bill recognizes the right to privacy as a fundamental right, so you can mention this one. The law does not have retrospective effect. um, the draft has recommended setting up a data protection authority to prevent the misuse of personal information, which is very much required, because we need someone is or a department is very much required to check whether our personal information, even if we give the concerned authority our private information regarding any kind of shopping or financial stuff, Then also, even if it's required, it's the task of a particular authority to check whether our personal information is getting misused or not. Now, the draft bill also provides for setting up an appellate tribunal. All right. Now, the penalty would be rupees 15 crore or 4% of the total worldwide turnover of any data collection or processing entity for violating the provisions. So, this is the penalty fees, which is unbearable. We are continuing with the bill details, that is the three facets, which includes the individual, the state, and the industry is considered in the bill with respect to the data. I have included this point, that is the government will notify a certain type of data as critical data which must be stored within the country. Of course, there are certain very sensitive data which shouldn't be going out of the country because there's always war between countries. So and there's always a huge competition between the countries. No one wants to um, become a bit lesser than the others. So they are always like thinking about taking all the inner data from the other country, what's going on there, what's going on here, so like that. This is known as data localization, like data is only restricted within its national territory. Non-critical data can be stored outside the country subject to some conditions, as long as one copy of the data is available within India. So even if the non-critical data are to be stored outside India, there should be a copy of that particular data within India. Failure to take prompt action on a data security breach can attract up to rupees 5 crore or 2% of turnover as a penalty. That's the penalty. Next, you have data principle, which refers to the individual or the person providing their data. Then we have processing of sensitive personal data that should be on the basis of explicit consent of the data principle, which should be given before the commencement of the processing. So of course, there should be a limit to whatever you share. Sensitive personal data should be processed, and not everything, or like not everything should be like exposed from your personal data. So you should think a lot many times before providing any kind of personal information outside. Next, let us include this point also, anonymization, which is a new term you can include in these type of topics. Anonymization refers to the irreversible process of transforming the personal data into a form in which a data principle cannot be identified. The provisions of the draft bill do not apply to anonymized data as long as the anonymization process meets the standards set by the appropriate authority. So you can include this point, which is a solution point you can include, and the data principle will have the right to restrict or prevent the continuing disclosure of personal data by a data processor, which is known as the right to be forgotten. So this should also be implied. The draft bill also recognizes the right to be forgotten, but this right does not allow for a total erasure is allowed in the European Union. The data holder may charge a reasonable fee to be paid for complying with such requests. So these points can also be included. So yeah, so that's it for today's class. We're going to meet once again in our next classes with the discussion of the rest of the topics.